So you were in London yesterday and you were training and you claim that you survived a competition class at Los Banditos. Is that correct?
Yes, but let me make it clear. They were definitely going easy on me and I did not, participate in every single round that was available to me. But yes, I did go up to London for 2 days and 1 night and I went to Los Banditos and yeah, they're like right in the middle of their ADCC training camp. And they do long sessions every day, I guess, from like about 11:30 until 2.
Wow.
Yeah. But it was really, really good.
Is that the first time you've trained there?
First time I've been up there, yeah. I mean,
So
it's hard
you chose a tough session for your first time to go train at Los Banditos.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I have a feeling there's only tough sessions there. I actually have loads of stuff to say about it, so I'm not sure where to start. Have you been there? Have you trained there? Or?
I've never trained there. I've only visited once, and that was for the CJI trials. And they might be trying to trick me, but some of the guys at Los Banditos have invited me to go train there multiple times. And they keep saying, it's not always like it looks like online. We're not always trying to kill each other. Like, we do have regular classes and regular people who train there as well. Obviously, they cherry pick the best parts to put online, which show the best action and make it look like it's just an absolute dogfight the entire time. But of course, there's some very high-level pros there, but they also claim that there's regular people training there as well, and that somebody like myself or yourself could go there and not be utterly destroyed. I'm not so sure I believe them, but that's what they tell me.
I guess it depends what day you get them, because
yeah.
Well, yeah, like they're in the middle of camp. It's run by the well, at least when I was there, it's Joe. Formerly long-time Roger Gracie kind of disciple. He was telling me he was there day one as a kid when Roger's gym opened.
This is Joe Lennon, Joezinho.
Yeah, and left when he was, in his early 30s. So he spent a lot of time training there. And he is the coach, and he's like properly a coach. He's not like a black belt that sets the timer and then jumps in and does rounds and stuff. He's coaching everybody. Like, seems like he's thinking about the program. He's watching how everybody trains, with a view to performing at the highest level. And the camp, I only spent 1 day there, so I only got like one view of it. But there was almost no technical instruction. It was just setting the parameters for the drills and then modifying them as they went along. There was loads of stand-up, loads of specific like sparring. So for example, you're on your back and you're 2 points down and you only have like 3 minutes left. You need to recover some point or sweep or submission. And then it was like, actually now you're on your back and you're 2 points up. So you have to maintain a lead, and like lots of sort of helpful scenarios for preparing for competition, basically.
Yeah. Very competition specific. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And how many people were in the room when you were there?
It was very busy, very, very busy. I think it was...
Because it's not a big space, is it?
No. And unfortunately, one guy did get injured. But they told me afterwards that he was kind of inexperienced and they'd all told him not to come to the class because it just wasn't for him. And he kind of insisted. And then, unfortunately, ended up just slipping off a takedown and... busting his knee. I don't know how bad it was, but it looked pretty bad. That was at the moment I was like, I might sit out the next couple of stand-up rounds just because I can see that being me next. But I went with loads of different people, and the standard is really, really good. I did a round with Charles Negromonte as well, but I thought he was going to crush me, but he was super nice, very, very, he took the role of the experienced black belt and was like helping me out with positions and
nice.
Giving me feedback and stuff. It was really, really good experience. And then hung out with Joe a little bit afterwards, had long discussions about his like philosophy of how how they run the gym and his coaching and everything, which I can go into a bit more if you wanted, but.
I would love to pick his brains on that stuff, because I have met Joe and I have talked to him a little bit, but I haven't had an opportunity to really sit down and get to know him, or to really listen to his thoughts on that kind of stuff. I imagine that it's pretty interesting because he's very experienced. He works with, you know, some of the very best guys in Europe, not just the UK, right? And I think the results speak for themselves. I mean, of course, a lot of these guys were, let's say, they were created elsewhere, but they've all gravitated together in this environment in West London to train together for basically peak performance, right? It is like an elite training center in that sense. But at the same time, he is training like a next generation. Like, he has tons of teenagers training there, right? And these guys they're already breaking through, some of them, but it looks like they're primed in a couple of years from now to have like this massive wave of high level competitors come through. And yeah, I'd love to hear more about what he kind of does to work with that kind of stuff. But I'm more interested right now in your experiences of what it was like. So who did you train with? You said Charles Negromonte. Who else did you roll with?
Well, we sponsored 3 guys there. We got Nick, Caveman, which is Jacob, and Nico Bellardo, but all very good, very, very high level grapplers. I mean, the belts are almost irrelevant. They're just so good. But they're very, you know, they treat me like a guest, you know. I mean, we had like a few decent rounds, but and then I went with a couple of people. I can't remember their names, but just solid, you know, just really, really good at jiu-jitsu. And
so you weren't in the mix with the pros. You weren't training with O'Flanagan, Taylor, those guys.
No, Taylor wasn't there. Owen was ill, unfortunately. I did a round with Osbeck. That was fun.
He's a great role. I've trained with Christian, and actually he is like, you know, you see the Instagram clips of him launching people and stuff. And he did give me one cheeky little foot sweep that sent me head over heels. But no, he's a great training partner, actually. Like,
very,
really
very good. In fact, like, they're not, you know, they give the impression that they're just balls to the wall all the time, like maniacs. As soon as you touch them, you're going to die. But they know how to train, and they know how to treat visitors for the most part. Like, I guess I also train in a way that I'm not like training like a dick, so there's no need for them to respond in that way.
I imagine if you were trying to come at them, then they would match the pace. They would put you in your place.
They have it in reserve that they could switch it on at any time. But no, it was a really cool, really good place to visit.
Nice. And what was the vibe like at the moment with the ADCC camp? Because, you know, we're 1 month away pretty much at this point, and how's the energy in the room? High?
Yeah, it seemed pretty intense. I mean, everyone was super focused. You know, when that guy got injured, and I was like, okay, there was like 3 more stand-up rounds, I think, and I just sort of stood on the edge and watched. And there's like big bodies, and everybody's, you know, pretty intense with their movements, and it looks like a fucking serious crew. But at the same time, Joe doesn't seem to mind if they do some technical stuff in the corner, or, you know, it's almost like it feels like quite a mature training environment, which is a funny thing to say for a gym that has like it's Los Banditos and it's all a little bit goofy, but actually, like, it's very serious, high level training. Yeah.
Very cool. How do they manage with the space? Do they like do alternate rounds? Do you do 1 round on, 1 round off?
Yeah, yesterday was 2 groups. Yeah, that were going 1 on, 1 off. But even then, it was still crowded. That was funny. I had a bag, like a cotton tote bag full of like Scramble gear that I was giving out to the athletes that we sponsor. And I put it in the corner of the changing room. It was dry when I went in. And then at the end of the session, I went to go and get it, and it was just a river. And the whole cotton training bag was soaked through. I was like, what the hell? Like, it was intensely hot in there.
Yeah. I like how the conditions of the camp, they made it public right at the beginning about how if you're going to train in the camp, you have to bring towels to dry yourself off between rounds, to help dry the mats and things like that. Yeah, it's super important. Not just safety, but of course, you know, for the realistic aspect as well, because, you know, you're not going to start a match completely wet in ADCC, and you need those grips. So,
man, there was
the little things that make the difference.
Yeah, they were dragging towels around the mat in between rounds, and then, man, I would not have touched those towels with a fucking barge pole, but the guys didn't seem to bother them too much.
They're used to it. They're used to it.
Yeah. Just before we move on, I also went to London Grapple, which is an amazing gym run by Ross Nichols. And just one thing I wanted to say was like Joe at Los Banditos is hyper focused on the competition aspect of it. And I don't know if it's changed since you went there, but the conclusions that he was kind of coming to was that a gym can either produce like the best of the best competitors, or it can be a gym full of hobbyists. And those two things are actually kind of antithetical to each other. The things that make it good for competitors make it shit for normal people. And if you cater to normal people, then the competitors are going to not be able to compete at the highest level. And it's weird because London Grapple is a good example. It has a lot of members, a lot of regular people, but also very high level competitors. I was thinking about it. They compete on Polaris. They win all kinds of tournaments around the country and around Europe. But then I thought about it, like they do win, but there is like the top of the top, like, qualified for ADCC or holding championship belts and stuff like that. Then you can probably argue that a gym like Los Banditos, which is 90% focused on competitors, is leading in that sense because they've gone through to the next level,
Right.
Yeah.
I
take anything
probably
away
agree
from
with
either
you.
one.
No, of course. I don't feel that it's mutually exclusive. I feel that any gym can have a high level competition program within it, but it really depends on a few factors. It depends on the size of the team. It depends on the number of people, about the schedule. And, you can run a competition team out of a gym that will have a large number of just regular practitioners, hobbyists, and so on. And they might compete and they might do well, but you're right. If you wanted to be in like an elite training center, it's going to be really hard to cater to the average person. But then, like I said, Ryan, the media guy from Los Banditos, the guy who produces all those great videos on YouTube and Instagram and stuff, and he was telling me that the night classes at Los Banditos are totally different. So it's like it's the midday session, which is all the porrada, all the kind of the high level competition training is done, but they do have regular classes in the evenings as well. So I hear what you're saying. I think that it's probably possible to have both, but very difficult to cater to both at the same time. Right.
Yes.
That's the key. Yeah.
In fact, you're right. There's no reason why you couldn't run both side by side, but probably the same coach couldn't do both. Right?
Interesting.
Joe is hyper focused on coaching a competitive team. For him to then go and teach like a regular class would, probably bore him to tears. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just assuming. Maybe he does teach in the evenings, but.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I'm glad you had a good time. It's given me a little bit more confidence to possibly go there and to train one day. But knowing that you can go to a Los Banditos competition training class and not get your shit broken. So
well, I'm not recommending that everyone just turn up at the comp class and be like, hey, it is a serious training environment. I mean, yeah.
Cool. Oh, very cool. Very cool. Well, nice that you had that experience. So
yeah, it was good.
Excellent. Well, there is a lot coming up. There's no big ADCC news right now, as we're 1 month away. We talked about the most recent the most recent ADCC news in our last episode. I think things are a bit quiet now as people sort of knuckling down and just really focusing on their camps. But there is an event coming up at the end of August. Of course, it is the next UFC BJJ. One of the matches featured on that one is Andrew Tackett is defending his welterweight title against Jonatas Gracie. And this is quite interesting because Andrew recently appeared on Demetrius Johnson, aka Mighty Mouse. He was on Mighty Mouse's podcast, the Mighty Cast, I think they call it. And this was insightful for a number of reasons. They talked a lot. It was a very wide-ranging conversation. But there was one thing that really stood out for me. It was about how Andrew Tackett he mentioned it a number of times about the difficulty that he has had in getting opponents, because in his words, basically nobody wants it. Nobody wants the smoke. Nobody wants to take on Andrew. And this is why some of his most recent matches, for example, the upcoming match against Jonathan Gracie, the previous match that he had against Wagner Hoscher, like these matches are happening because they can't find the other highest level, the best opponents at 77 kilos, aka 170 pounds, for a number of reasons. Number one, some of the best guys are signed elsewhere. You won't see Tackett versus Ruotolos because they're signed with one championship. You won't see Tackett versus Mika Galvao because he's not signed with the UFC. And
Andrew is with Polaris.
Mateus is with Polaris, yeah. And there's a lot of other high-level 77 guys out there in the world who just aren't currently with that organization. So the options are kind of thin on the ground. He also explained that, well, he didn't explain, but he also voiced his opinion that he thought it was weird why people wouldn't want to sign with UFC BJJ. Now, this is more of an interesting talking point for me because somebody, the champion, who is very well treated, who is based in Las Vegas, who is promoted well by the UFC BJJ, who has daily access to all of the physical benefits that the UFC offer, the Performance Institute, the daily physiotherapy treatments and other things that he can get there. I mean, obviously, it makes a lot of sense to him. But I'm wondering, his opinion, is it colored by his proximity to the UFC, and would it make as much sense for somebody else to sign with UFC BJJ as much as Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, he's essentially the golden boy, and he's like, hey, why doesn't everybody else want to be the golden boy? Well, because, you know, there's only one or two of those spots available, and you've taken one of them, you know? Like, it's also a very, and a lot of Americans are guilty of this, it's a US-centric viewpoint of the world. It's like, hey, why don't you want to be part of this thing that I'm a part of in my back garden? You know, because some people don't live in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's almost like one championship all over again a few years ago, right? Where they signed up like 2 or 3 of the best people, and then those best people did not fight the best people for a long, long time. And everybody, the jiu-jitsu community as a whole was kind of complaining about it. Maybe there's, you know, everybody looks to the UFC. UFC is the gold standard of combat sports. But if you look like really deeply, maybe it isn't, you know, it's, if let's say that Andrew wasn't exclusive, he could have fought these other people in these other organizations. Basically, it's a choice that he's made to go behind this UFC fence and then just invite people into it. But not everybody wants to go in. You know, there's a lot to consider when taking a contract like that. And I guess that the little seeds of doubt that have been sown around the community is enough that people are not just jumping into it like feet first, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot of hang-ups on the contracts, right? Obviously, Craig was so vocal about the potential pitfalls of signing an exclusivity agreement with UFC BJJ that I think it gave a lot of people, maybe not cold feet, but pause for thought. And maybe the UFC had this expectation that, oh, everybody's going to want to sign contracts with us, right? It's going to be super easy to sign all these top guys. And that hasn't been the case, as we've seen, or as you've just explained. You know, there are multiple very, very high-level guys out there in the world who have decided that actually, no, I'm not going to sign with UFC BJJ. Maybe that is just right now. Maybe they are waiting. Maybe they're waiting to see how UFC BJJ will develop. Maybe they've got other things to get out the way with first. Maybe they're like, no, I want to be able to do it ADCC. Maybe post ADCC, you know, if I'm able to win, maybe then I'm in a position to sign a contract. Or maybe they have good agreements elsewhere, like the Ruotolo brothers with one championship, like Mateus with Polaris, you know. So I think it's very unfair for Andrew to complain that the best guys don't want to face him when there are so many other factors at play here, you know, and for 100%, you know, he's got the best possible setup, you know, lives in Las Vegas, daily access to the UFC, promoted by them very well. It makes a lot of sense. But he did, one person in particular, he did single out one person in particular for not wanting to face him, and that was Andy Murasaki. Andy Murasaki has fought on UFC BJJ, and he's done very well. He's really, really good, gi and no gi. Andy Murasaki is excellent. And apparently he has, in Andrew's words, declined to face Andrew a few times. We heard earlier this year that I think it was, I can't remember if it was Claudio or somebody else, but there was basically a claim that Andy wasn't good enough because his style was too boring to face somebody like Andrew.
Yeah.
Right? So Andrew didn't claim that at all in this interview. He basically said that Andy has had a number of reasons, in Andrew's words, excuses, but Andy has had a number of reasons for not wanting to do it. He's like, no, I'm training too much gi right now. No, I'm focused on IBJJF World Championships. No, I'm currently making more money teaching seminars and courses, and I'm not in a no gi season right now, which for me, from Andy's perspective, are all very valid reasons for not wanting to compete. But Andrew is obviously extremely frustrated by the lack of high-level, credible competitors that he's able to go against. And it so happens that Andy and Jonatas are both teammates, right? They're from Art of Jiu-Jitsu. So
yeah.
Jonatas has decided to accept this. Well, he's already signed with the UFC BJJ. He's had multiple matches on UFC BJJ. He hasn't been competing in the gi for the last couple of years. He's been pretty much 100% focused on no gi for like the last 4 years or possibly more. So a number of reasons why he would say yes to that match over somebody like Andy. But yeah, it does highlight, whether Andrew realizes this or not, it does highlight a bit of a problem that the UFC BJJ have, is that some of these divisions look very exciting, but then you realize that the depth of talent isn't quite there.
Yeah, I mean, imagine they do sign somebody new to fight Andrew, and let's say that new person loses. Then what do they do after that with that person? You know, that person's just signed an exclusive contract. They're just going to bounce around in the what do they call them, number one contender matches against other less famous people, and then have another crack at Andrew. Like you said, it is a little bit shallow. I wonder if they're just waiting for ADCC to be done, and then they'll go even harder.
Yeah, I 100% predict it. You'll see a signing spree after ADCC. You'll see an influx of decent 77 kilogram guys coming into the organization post ADCC, because I think people will feel, they'll be thinking like, you know what, 2 years, it's a long time. Maybe they can negotiate a contract that would expire prior to that next ADCC. You know, maybe they'll be in a position to be able to compete in the next one. Who knows? But right now, yeah, it explains a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I know they're doing completely different things, but if you look at RAF wrestling and UFC BJJ, I guess like in the grand scheme of things, they kind of started at a similar time.
Yeah.
And RAF has gone stratospheric in like a small space of time. They're selling out like what looks like arenas. They've got headlines that are just like grapplers' dreams. And then UFC BJJ seems to be just kind of bubbling along, content to do shows in the back room at the PI. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the long-term play is. It'll be interesting to see how the amateur events go. Like if I'm certain they are rammed, at least the first couple, because the appetite for them was really big. So maybe it's a bigger play, not just the pro event. The pro event is almost like the spearhead, and then coming behind it is all of the amateur stuff and everything around it. But yes, two very different tactics. With different results.
We'll see as well if anything changes, because Andrew, one thing that he said after this next match, if he wins, which he's obviously planning to do, that he said that he was basically going to do a crazy call out. And he actually said that he planned to do it after the match with Wagner, his most recent title defense. But they ended up talking about God and family and having that kind of bro moment in the center of the bowl after the match. And Andrew said it wasn't the right time, and he didn't feel like he was able to make the call out that he wanted to. But he said that after this next match, that should he win, he's basically going to do a crazy call out and try and get matches with MMA fighters, which Mikey has now, he's got that lined up. He was talking for so long about facing Armen. He's got this match with Bryce Mitchell coming up. And Andrew was basically saying, if there isn't opponents for me, then I'm just going to call out a bunch of MMA guys and get them in. And he said he would even agree to conditions such as no leg locks and things like that, because he did mention, it was discussed about how, RAF have been doing very well in bringing in MMA fighters. And I think that's one of the reasons why they've had such a boost. So obviously a budget consideration, UFC BJJ quite clearly don't have the same budget as RAF, which are booking out major stadiums all across the world and probably paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to guys like Arman Tsarukyan and Khamzat and all these currently active and former MMA fighters and high-level Olympic wrestlers. So UFC BJJ don't have those same resources, it seems. But we've said it before. We've said it time and time again. Why aren't they leaning more on the UFC roster? Why aren't they bringing in MMA guys to give their event a boost? And if it does happen that they don't have 77 kilo guys for Andrew to face from jiu-jitsu, bring in some MMA guys. Let's just see a scrap with somebody who's going to wrestle with him. Yeah, makes a ton of sense.
I wonder if they sit down and discuss this stuff. Like, I wonder if they have, made a conscious effort to appeal to the credibility of, pure jiu-jitsu.
I think so.
Yeah, but the longer I spend in this sport, like, it's such a strange sport with a strange audience and a strange group of, participants. I don't know if you can appeal to that sense. I don't even know if it exists. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do feel you. Feel you. Well, speaking of UFC BJJ and this sport being a bit strange, you sent me something which I had already seen, and believe me, a ton of people had already sent it to me, and it's already been memified by Craig Jones. He was pretty quick on that edit. Of course, we're talking about this recent, very weird sexualized skit featuring Mikey Musumeci and a 29-year-old Dutch influencer called Vera Dijkmans. I think that's her name. Now, she has 4.2 million followers on her profile. She is a model who has appeared in, basically, just I'm not going to dress it up. I'm just going to call it like it is. She features in heavily sexualized content with various UFC fighters. She's appeared in clips with Marab, with Alex Pereira, Sugar Sean O'Malley, Johnny Walker, Jorge Masvidal, Rampage Jackson, and others. And basically what they do is they end up usually kind of demonstrating or performing some kind of mixed martial arts move with her. And they carefully curated and created in a way to get maximum engagement. But the clip with Mikey, now they chose two moves. They chose a calf slicer and a mounted triangle. And these moves were very obviously chosen to play up to the intimate nature of grappling. And let's just call it like it is. It was pretty creepy, right? It was pretty creepy.
Yeah, 100%. Like, super creepy. Because, the positions involve, like, Mikey basically, like, dry humping her from behind and then,
and whispering in her ear at the same time.
Yeah, and then getting, like, each other's crotches in each other's faces. It's like, jiu-jitsu just can't decide what it wants to be. It's like, either you're, as a community, you're up in arms about the sexualization of women in the sport and you don't accept it, or you think it's hilarious. Like, which is it? Which one are you going with? Because the community is constantly flip-flopping from one thing to the other. Plus, like, Mikey, what is Mikey's shtick? Is he like a nerd? Is he a sexual predator? Is he like a creep? Like, what is it? Like, you can't do stuff like that. I don't know. Like, for me, it's super weird, especially with what just happened with Show Roll a few minutes ago, a few days ago.
Yeah. So I agree with you. It felt really distasteful to me now. And it made me think, well, hang on a second. They're going for this really low-hanging fruit of producing sexualized content, obviously for the goal of engagement, right? And this is somebody this influencer who has done it in the UFC space, which we know UFC in general is not the most intelligent or academically minded of sports. It's very testosterone fueled. It is kind of the prerogative of knuckleheads, right? And what we've seen is now this same strategy applied multiple times, by the way, not just with this Vera, but also with Nina Marie as well. She has done the same thing for UFC BJJ. And they're basically using this same strategy of producing sexualized content to try and boost engagement for UFC BJJ, obviously for promotion. But you've chosen something which is such a hot topic in jiu-jitsu. It's so controversial. It goes against so much of what has been happening in the sport over the last 6 months and for many years before that, but particularly has been discussed a lot in the last 6 months. If you're going to use those strategies of trying to bring in a crossover audience from like the world of MMA to watch UFC BJJ, why don't you just book UFC fighters who could compete instead of leaning into this sexualized content? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I didn't think of it like that, but also, why not just not do it?
Why just not do it? Exactly. Yeah. Why just not do it? Because this is, of course, UFC BJJ, who is supposedly working towards promoting women's grappling. And I have to give them the props that this next event is 50-50 split.
Women, quite often.
Yeah, 50-50 split between women and men. And I think that's great. I love seeing these opportunities given for high-level female grapplers to compete on a professional event. And yet, then, they're producing this kind of content. And it's like, whoa, pick a lane, guys, right?
Yeah, like, exactly. Pick a lane. And then for like recently, Adele made a big thing about part of the reason that she was not going to ADCC was because of Isaac Michel. Obviously, it's not the same activity, but it's in the same sphere of mistreating. What's the exact word? I guess minimalizing or not taking seriously women in the sport of grappling. You right. Can't make a stand in one direction and then turn a blind eye in the other direction because they're the people that pay for your matches, Like you're either against this thing or you're not, in my opinion. So if you take a stance, the stance has to apply everywhere, not just where it's convenient to do so.
Yeah, because she was so vocal in the reasons as to why she decided that she wasn't going to participate in this year's UFC. And she mentioned, of course, the financial aspect. She mentioned the support of, did I say UFC? Sorry, ADCC. The reason why she's not going to compete in ADCC is because of the financial aspect, because the women get paid half of that of the men, and the fact that they took so long to respond to Isaac Michel, withdrawing him from the event. So she's obviously got certain principles. Now, I do believe that she's probably being fairly compensated, possibly equal to that of what the men are getting paid at UFC BJJ. I don't know the exact numbers. And yet, now, after she's made that statement and then releasing this clip, most recently, of course, they've done this stuff before, but she's now aligned herself with the company that pays an influencer to produce this kind of content. I can't imagine that she feels too great about that.
No. Yeah, I don't know if I just love drama, but yeah, I'd love to see her say something about it. Because they wouldn't ask her to do that, Of
course not.
They know exactly what they're doing. Yeah, I just find it really weird. Really weird.
Me too. Disappointing as well, actually. I think that's how I felt. Yeah. But when I first saw it, that I was like, yeah, number one, this is weird. And then number two, it's just kind of disappointing. It's like, I just don't really feel this is a great idea. And the UFC marketing team is not stupid. They're really not. They do a great job of promoting their events across all of the combat sports that they promote. And this is a very specific decision to produce this kind of content. And it just makes me think, man, you guys, you just, it's not it, man. It's just not it.
Yeah. If you've got a whole sport full of colorful characters that have been, a long history, relatively speaking, and you choose to promote it with like cheap, like ass stuff, It's just like, what are you doing? I mean, maybe they do know exactly what they're doing, but you know. Well, she has 5.7 million followers, by the way, not 4.2.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow! I thought it was less than that. Oh god,
maybe it went up since she did the video with Mikey.
Possibly, yeah. But you're right. I mean, if you look at UFC BJJ, if you look at the reels that they've produced, and if you've looked at if you sort them by popularity, right? I mean, like the number one clip, 17.6 million views is Mikey showing some jiu-jitsu to Nina Drama. And then 13 million views is Nina Drama, and is that Laura Sanko? Yeah, it is, right? And then 12 million views, again, Mikey teaching Nina jiu-jitsu. You know,
there's a pattern there.
There is a pattern. Anyway, well, I shall watch the next UFC BJJ event. I am still curious to watch it, but just disappointing. That's all. I'll leave it at that. Moving on. Now, this is a sort of very different topic to talk about. But the Level Black company from the States, who came out of nowhere it must be about 4 or 5 years ago now, I guess. And they kind of really exploded onto the scene. And they're doing quite well by all accounts. I mean, they sponsor a ton of guys. They, from what I've heard, are quite generous with their sponsorship deals. They sponsor a decent number of high-level athletes, many of whom are going to compete at the next ADCC. And personally, I'm not like a huge fan of the brand. It's just not my vibe. It's very sort of American, very in your face. It feels very Tapout-esque, right? It's almost like kind of a revival of that early Tapout, early 2000s Tapout kind of aesthetic and playbook. Fine. Some people like it, some people don't. You know, I don't have any strong feelings on it either way. I'm just gonna just stating my kind of position on it. But they put up something recently about, actually it was Takedown Nation who actually highlighted it. But in August 2026, this month, the Level Black owner, Clayton, claims that over 100 people, 100 Level Black fans have offered to get tattoos of the logo of the brand in order to get access to an exclusive ADCC kit that was produced but not actually made available for sale. Now, again, I repeat myself here. This is literally out of the early 2000s Tapout playbook, because there was like a period in time in the MMA community when there were a lot of people with Tapout tattoos, right?
Yeah.
Number one, I think that whether people actually do go out there and get Level Black tattoos or not, it's great viral marketing for the brand because it's a ton of people talking about it, right? It really is.
Yeah. As
a brand owner, I'm curious to know how you think about it.
I'm split in two because on the one hand, it doesn't appeal to me at all. But on the other hand, I can see exactly what they're doing correctly.
Yes.
So they, like for me, just purely like aesthetically, and design is an entirely individual thing. Aesthetically, it doesn't appeal to me at all. I mean, one or two of the designs I quite like. But overall, the kind of image is not my thing. But what I really respect is they have consistency across how they present it all the time. And the designs are very consistent. I mean, some might say they're repetitive, but they are at least consistent, which I guess customers find reassuring. Their marketing is consistent. Like you can tell a Level Black product and a Level Black photo shoot and everything, you know, you can see it. And people seem to like that. And then the messaging that they do is consistent. And, you know, the team of people that they have is, they all seem rather similar. So I like it. What they're doing is obviously working. Well, the tattoo thing, I don't know, it's wild. Like they're obviously riding some kind of wave, which is cool. It is cool. But by the way, the tattoo doesn't guarantee you the gear. It guarantees you entry into the ability to maybe purchase the gear or win the chance to buy the gear. So there could be some people getting these tattoos for no reason.
That's wild. Are there any Scramble logo tattoos out there that you know of?
I don't think we have any actual logos as far as I know. But when we collaborated with a famous YouTuber called Julian Solomita, I did a little design that had a pair of legs coming out of a cloud. And it was, the theme was head in the clouds, feet on the floor or something like that. And a lot of people got that tattooed. Mostly because they're like super fans of Julian. You know, he had millions of followers, or he has millions of followers. Also, Lego.
Is this the Julian? Was he the partner of that famous YouTuber from a few years back called Jenna?
Yeah, it was Jenna Marbles. Yeah,
Marbles. Yeah,
she was mega. They were both huge. Like at one point, we made like a few things with him. We got on quite well. There was like a period of a couple of years where we did a lot with them. And at one point, the rash guard that they were wearing, it was on YouTube's featured video. It had like millions and millions and millions of views, and the guy was wearing our rash guard, which was cool. So a few people got that tattooed.
So people have had the designed tattooed, Scramble designs, but not necessarily Scramble logos.
That's right. Okay. That's right.
And then I'm thinking of other brands out there. Like I've seen quite a few StreetX tattoos. Right?
Oh, yeah.
There are definitely a few of those out there in the wild. But one guy, quite similar to yourself, who loads of people have had his designs and his illustrations tattooed, but not necessarily his logo, is of course our friend Seymour, aka Miyakatsu.
I was thinking about that. Yeah. Almost to the point where he's telling people, hey, stop doing that. I didn't give you permission to do that. That's my artwork, you know.
It's quite a... it must be quite flattering though that somebody likes your artwork so much that they're willing to get it, inked into your skin. That's pretty cool.
Well, I did the Leglock Camp logo, and I think both Mateus and Camille have that tattooed on them. And I think they have a thing going where if someone gets it done, it's either free entry or half price entry to Leglock Camp for life. So that's cool. That's really cool. That's actually a cool logo as well. I like the Leglock Camp logo. Very, very simple design. You know, it's funky. It's cool. It's really cool. It works. Yeah, but Level Black, man, I got to say, I agree with you on what you said. The sort of the design language that they've chosen and the branding and the aesthetics, super consistent, across the board. They've definitely created something special that appeals to a certain demographic within jiu-jitsu. And it appears huge in America because I just look at the amount of people out there competing specifically at things like ADCC open events, kids of like 14, 15 years of age, and they're all in on the Level Black thing, aren't they? It's like, it's definitely grown a lot over the last couple of years. And I think from what I can tell is it looks like they're doing really well. So good for them. All right. So we have UFC fighter Diego Lopez has signed up for Masters Worlds in the news. Do you know, what division is he, Diego? Ooh, that's a great question. He is 31, so he'd be Masters 1 black belt. Okay. And then that's a competitive division. Yeah, because that's just after adult, and probably would they be on the juice at that point, or does that not kick in till like Master 3? I'm not sure. I think it kicks in pretty early. Yeah. And then the last famous guy to do that was Mighty Mouse, wasn't he? Yeah, Mighty Mouse competed in Masters Worlds, but he was already retired at that point. I can't think of any active MMA fighters or active UFC fighters, let's say, I've seen in action at Masters Worlds. So I find it kind of interesting that Diego, who is competing, I believe, in the Masters 1 lightweight division, which is they've got 42 guys in that division, and it's going to be pretty competitive. I mean, you've got Shane Jamil Hill-Taylor is in that division. Like former IBJJF World Champion 2018. Some really tough guys in that division. Just scanning through the list quickly to see Alexandre Molinaro, very, very high level black belt. Kevin Mahecha. Richard Nogueira. Johnny Tama, IBJJF No-Gi World Champion. So good division. And Diego has decided, I guess, he's probably in between UFC fights. And, as we know, UFC BJJ, or UFC guys, I should say, UFC fighters do like to stay active with grappling here and there. But wow, that in the gi, that's a little bit of a different prospect. That is interesting choice. Yeah, not dipping his toes in like Naga or something, to stay active. But yeah, Masters Worlds. I mean, he must have an affinity for the gi in the first place.
Yeah, well, he's definitely one of the better guys, better jiu-jitsu guys competing in the UFC. He has great close guard. He plays off his back really well. But as we know, grappling in MMA and grappling in IBJJF tournaments, different prospect. Very, very tough. I hope he does well. But I thought it was just super curious that a high-level UFC guy like that, who is actively fighting, thought it was really interesting that he would want to sign up for Masters Worlds.
Yeah, I was just looking at his record. Yeah, he's fought Volkanovski, Ortega. Yeah, big name.
Yeah, he's also huge. Like he's 1.8 meters, so that's like a good 6 foot, and competes normally in the UFC featherweight division. And so he's going up to the lightweight division because, of course, I'm sure that's much more closer to his walk around weight. But yeah, really, really interesting to see that. Masters
When
World's
is Master
definitely
World?
Coming up end of August, beginning of September, if I'm not mistaken.
All right, so we can watch that on Flow, I guess. Yeah.
Indeed, we can. Yeah, indeed, we can. Yeah, and then September 3rd to the September 5th, and then another UFC guy who's back in action is Armen. The guy just doesn't stop.
Do we even call him a UFC guy anymore? He's a wrestling, grappling super fight guy.
He's a machine, this guy. He does not stop. He actually hasn't fought UFC for over a year, but he is fighting very soon. He's fighting on September 19th in Los Angeles, UFC 331 against Mauricio Ruffy. So this is Arman's big comeback after a very long time away from fighting. But then he's got a match on RAF Wrestling coming up. And this is going to take place on October 13th. So it's going to be about 3 weeks after his UFC fight. He's signed for this match against Dillon Danis on RAF Wrestling. Number one, I think it's kind of wild that Arman would sign a contract for a wrestling match so soon after his UFC fight. Let's hope he doesn't get injured or hurt in that one, right? But then number two, I'm like, wow, Arman literally will face anybody. Anybody that you put in front of him.
Yeah, maybe he must be just really enjoying the wrestling matches. Like, it must be just a great way to sort of stretch his legs. He's obviously a born competitor, and the money. Yeah, fuck.
And the money. Yeah,
he is like a bazillionaire already, though, isn't he? But
but still,
yeah. Who doesn't want more money?
Yeah, and they pay him well. Like, they've never revealed the exact numbers, but Arman's team has come out and said a number of times that he gets paid 6 figures to compete in RF wrestling. So
I guess one thing that just popped into my head about RAF is like, thanks for tuning in to Unknown Pressures. For early access to full extended episodes and to support us to keep making more, please come and visit us on our Patreon.